Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome once again to another live stream. You may notice in the virtual studio is the illuminating Karen Bashford, empowerment mentor. Now, you talked about this before, this whole concept of boundaries for health, but being as I don't really know very much about very much, would you explain it to me in words of one syllable or less?
Boundaries for health is about recognizing that everything you do has an impact on your health.
Well, everything.
Simple as that. Everything you do has an impact on your health.
Well, give me examples. Give me examples so I can reconcile it.
The food you eat, the substances you put on your skin, the substances you use within your home, the actual makeup of the furniture, the carpets, and whatever else in your home has an impact on your health.
Well, I don't know where you stop with this, though.
You don't, but it's having that conscious awareness that it's not only what you use, it's also the fact that you have a choice to reduce the impact it has on your body. Now, I'm not an expert on this, but because of my health issues I've had and the fact I was actually poisoned with antibiotics, I'm very conscious that if I use something that my body does not like, it reacts. And we are constantly being bombarded by chemicals that are in the air, by the chemicals that are in our home. And I say chemicals because everything we have in our home, unless it's a natural produce or a natural wood or something like that, it's going to have an impact on us because of the chemicals they have to use in the making of it.
So what are we talking about? Everything from soft furnishings through to bedding, I suppose. I know the biggest thing that had a major impact on my health was changing washing powders.
Mm-hmm.
Dramatically changed everything. I would be constantly itching all the time, scratching and whatever. We changed washing powders. I think we use E-Cover now or something similar. And suddenly all those problems just disappeared. I mean, I know that's a fairly trivial example, but that's something from my own life. But
it's not trivial because most people do not realize that in washing powder, or liquid, there are substances that potentially could cause cancer. It's like if you use the conditioners, they have been proven that they can cause cancer.
It just feels like you're going to remove everything if you're not careful.
No, you don't have to remove it. It's just being consciously aware of how much you use and choosing more sustainable, more natural products for your own protection. Because at the end of the day, if you don't look after your health, you've got nothing.
Yeah, I suppose if you're not going to look after it, no one else.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
But as usual, you give me pause. What about, let's go for obvious ones. Food.
Processed foods are really harmful for you. The actual omegas in them will damage you because there's a lot of omega-6 and our bodies do not make omega. So consequently, if we're absorbing a lot of omega-6, we are creating inflammation in our bodies.
But I thought there was a big fuss. I thought there was a big fuss over not getting enough omegas and oily fish. And I remember my mother going on about flora. You've got to use flora because that's got omega, and I remember all that.
But it depends which omega it is. We need omega-3 for our bodies to be operating at the fullest potential it can do.
Omega-3 is that the one from fish?
It's fish. It can come from olive oil. It can certainly come from plants. But the thing about omega-3 is it's the one thing that will help our cells be flexible to absorb nutrition, omega-6, which is in most of the processed foods, will actually create inflammation. So we need to be conscious of what omegas we are actually eating.
Okay. Okay. So is there an easy way of identifying which ones have most omegas, or which has the right omegas, I should say?
Well, natural foods, unprocessed foods will obviously be best for you.
Right.
Because they are natural. They've not got added ingredients. They've not been heated to high temperatures and things like that. So they're not having the same kind of impact on you as natural foods, processed foods would. So consequently, the less processed food you eat, the better it is for you.
So is there a rule of thumb here? Because I really would like to come out of this with something I can live my life by, you know?
Go for as much natural produce as you can. If your body is not absorbing the correct omegas, everything that you put in it is basically being wasted. Because how can your body absorb all the nutrition it needs if it can't, the cells actually are not flexible enough to be able to take on the omegas you need or the nutrition that you need? There's so many illnesses that relate to the fact our cells do not work effectively. And there's more and more research confirming this now. And I'm only mentioning it as boundaries for health because, as I say, my own health issues were very challenging because of being poisoned. And I've had to learn to adjust my life to accommodate. And I've done well up to this point. However, I was not aware that actually I was absorbing way too much omega-6 and not enough omega-3. So because I had cakes and biscuits and bread.
We all have that. Now, can we use your story as a case in point? I would very much like to talk about the portion about, first of all, what your intake was like, and then the moment of realization and how you changed it. Okay,
well, my story relates to a back issue, basically from 2 car accidents. Not my fault. I would have hastened to had. And I had bad neck, back and shoulder pain to the point where sometimes I just couldn't operate because it was too painful. Due to the fact I had been poisoned, I can't take any kind of painkillers.
Right.
So I had no option to go to actually manage the pain. So it was a case of self-hypnosis. It was a case of finding homeopathic remedies that could help me. And basically, it was just learning how to work with my body so I could manage the pain. I went to my chiropractic kinesiologist and she said, well, you can manage this far better if you increase your omega-3s. What? Now, I love olive oil. I love fish, particularly mackerel, tuna and things like that, and salmon. So I was absorbing quite a lot of omega-3s already. However, it wasn't enough to actually counteract the cakes, the biscuits, the sweets, and all the other stuff that we eat.
So is it that old adage, everything but in moderation, and trying to find that sort of, I don't like balance, but kind of that to make it harmonious, to find a sort of harmony.
Yeah. I discovered that I wasn't doing bad in comparison to others because I actually started taking a very high quality omega-3. Right. And that started
as a supplementation.
Yeah. And that, because I just couldn't eat enough fish, I couldn't eat enough olive oil to give me sufficient for my body to adjust what it needed to to get it to work in a way that wasn't causing that inflammation.
And did you notice, I mean, how long did it take you to notice a difference?
Working with the kinesiologist, I literally started taking them, and within 4 days, I could sense the difference in my pain. And within a month, I'd lost the pain.
That's phenomenal.
But the thing about it is,
as in the pain is gone.
It's gone.
And this was down to an inflammation that was caused, promoted in many ways by a lack of omega-6?
No, 3.
3.
Too many omega-6 and not enough omega-3. But having learnt about this and having used the omega-3s that she'd recommended, which, as I say, were good quality, I then discovered that actually even the good quality omega-3s are not necessarily as effective as they could be. Because when you actually, excuse me, take omega-3 in a supplement, the mercury that would have been in the fish would have been removed. And in removing, it has to be removed from any oily fish, because otherwise we're just absorbing mercury.
Right, yes,
which is very damaging. It's a heavy metal and it's very damaging to our body.
Is there still a lot of mercury in fish?
Oh yeah, because there's
I know there was
mercury.
for a long time. I know there was for a long time.
Well, if they're fishing in the sea, they're going to be absorbing mercury because there's so much mercury in our sea. You can't avoid it.
Wow.
So they have to take that mercury out. And in taking that mercury out, they actually remove one thing, the polyphenols, that are actually helping our cells absorb the omega-3. So I discovered a supplement, a nutrition that removed the mercury and replaced the polyphenols with olive oil. And since I've taken them, the difference in my body has been phenomenal. I sleep better. I have no pain at all. I'm far more flexible. I'm finding that generally my overall health is better. My eyesight seems to be improving. It's simply because my body is getting the right nutrition, omega-3, for my cells to be working effectively. And I'm still eating those naughty substances that contain omega-6.
But are you eating less of them or something? Or are you eating them with more knowledge, I guess? So
with more knowledge. Right. So I'm actually making a conscious choice of what I'm actually absorbing now or eating now and what choices I'm making. So yeah, it makes a big, big difference if you're taking the right supplements, because we can take supplements. We can pay an absolute fortune for them, but they're not necessarily doing us any good.
So as a rule of thumb, I mean, we're only dealing with the food here yet. The next thing I'm going to ask about is something I know a lot about, of course, which is makeup. Because I believe a lot of women, bless them all, spend a lot of time placing these substances on their face. I'm certain they can't all be doing top-notch stuff for you. And the skin is another way you can absorb stuff, isn't it?
The skin absorbs more often than not most of the chemicals that go into your body, because it's a large area and you don't. I think I read somewhere that you put something like 50 substances on your body a day. That's a lot of substances that could be harming you.
So talk to me briefly about makeup, and I just want to talk about this, and then I'm going to wind this up.
Yeah.
But I think this is probably a salutary warning in some ways for people, because people do this. I see them do this daily, and the amount of makeup they're putting on per week must be lots of it. Yes.
Yeah, and the only good makeup you can get are ones that are natural.
Right.
If you're using natural makeup, which is, I personally don't use much makeup, so I can't name them. but I do know that there are products out there that don't have added ingredients, and it's the added ingredients you need to be conscious of.
Right.
That harm. And if you consider, if a woman puts makeup on and what could be in that makeup, how much extra are you putting in your body that your body doesn't need or doesn't know how to deal with, because it just gets overloaded?
It's the lack of the latter of those two, isn't it? The body has no clue what to do with it, and it absorbs
it and then it stores it.
All right. Well, so what I'd like you to do is just summarize overall the concept that we've been talking about today, which is boundaries for health.
Basically, you need to be more aware of what you're doing to your body through the food you eat, what you drink, what you absorb through touching, using, living within. You need to be far more conscious than you've ever been before if you want a healthy body.
Well, there you had it. On that bombshell, I'm going to thank Karen Bashford for this. Watch out. She's got her new podcast series, which will be landing. The first one's on Monday, I believe, is it not?
Yes.
What's that called?
It's the Empowered Women Life Leaders.
And the first guest on that is Suzanne Feld, who is an incredible
brand photographer. Yeah, I call her a phenomenal photographer.
Yes, you did. I was editing it only, and you said that quite a few times. I was almost upset with you for not inviting me on it. So I realized that actually I'm kind of missing certain apparatus to be part of that.
No, I have men appearing on the podcast. So you never know. You might land up on it yet.
Guys, thank you so much for listening in. Remember, Karen and I both provide you with messages which are really intended to provide you with positive direction, guidance only, and also a thought and comment. So look, if you want more of this, please do comment or contact either of us, but just keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars, and try and look after that mental health. Bye-bye now.
Bye.